Here's an update of the test board project I've been working on. I wanted to work on it a little bit more and have it done a little sooner, but I've got classes to attend to as well, so I've been putting this off for a little while. But I've gotten pretty good progress since the last video I posted. So if you haven't seen the last ones, you might want to check those out. I made a few changes. One was I went with a different type of card connector because the one that I had made before, that was a 90-degree one that I made, the games went in like this, and then it blocks my view of all the chips. And also, since the card readers that you can get, those have a 2.54 millimeter pitch, and the Nintendo board is a 2.5 millimeter pitch. So if you look at the spacing of the pins, they're a little bit offset, and it just barely works out with one of these. So when I had two of these put together, it made it a lot harder to get the game to seat properly. There was more of a chance of it being offset and causing problems, so I went with this instead. I decided not to cannibalize a Game Genie to get a correct pitch card reader or anything like that, so I went with this, and it seems to work pretty well. So I've got all the ICs with sockets in them. That way, if I want to test a chip from a different console, I can swap it in here and see if the chip's bad. I also put this in there so I can test the transistor in there. Also, in the process, I found that you can replace the transistors in the NES with these ones here. And this is, it's kind of hard to see what that transistor is. Let me see if I can read it. Say BD140 transistor. It's basically a PNP transistor with that kind of pin configuration, ECB, just like the says on the board. So you can replace the one on your actual board with this if you want to. The only problem is the pins are a real tight fit to get in there, so you got to make sure all the solder is completely out of there to get these to fit in properly. It's a real tight squeeze, but that is an option if you can't come across the actual 937 transistor, that like this one here that came out of the unit. This one here has a little bit more gain than the 937, so I like to keep this in the test board. Anyway, so I've got I can test the transistor there. I can test the controller ports, so I can pull that out and put another one in there to see if it's bad. I can test a different power switch. I can pull this out here and put another one of those in there to test that out. The hardest thing I did, and it took me a while to get something that would work out, was I wanted a way to test the power modules a fairly easy way without having to solder something into the test board every time. You still have to solder the old one out, but it saves a little bit of a step, and usually I'm going to be pulling the power modules out of the board anyway, so I can replace the capacitors, so it's not that bad. But all I have to do is swap in, put the new one on here onto the ground contact and swap the pin over into there, and I can test out the new power module to see if it works. Couldn't really think of a way to. I originally wanted to have something that would snap in place and simplify things, but this seems to be able to work. So let me go ahead and show you how it works. Alright, so it's got a front loading slot on there, and makes a pretty good connection on there. Sometimes it doesn't quite line up right, but for the most part I don't have any issues with it lining up. I just realized I forgot to plug in a controller, so let me pause that and put in some controllers real quick. Alright, I got the controllers hooked in, so this game never gets old. Well, yeah, it works fine with the standard stuff in there, which is good, so I can test, make sure everything's running properly before I swap in the bad hardware, and it simplifies things a little bit. So let me show you how the RF swap out works, because that's probably the biggest change I've done since the last video. So it's pretty simple. You just pull this cord out here, plug it into your new power module, and then slide that right into there. And plug in the connections. Now that's where the ground connection is, right there to the box. So if there's another spot in the back here to secure it down with another screw if I wanted to, but just to demonstrate, I'm going to skip that part. But even just with it sitting there, it usually makes a good enough contact to make everything run. But if it loses contact with that screw there, it loses its ground connection and stops working. So yeah, that's what I've done so far to my test board here, and I think it's coming along pretty good. My autofocus is freaking out. Turn that off. There we go. Sorry about that. So I still haven't decided if I'm going to remove this and maybe have some sockets put down for certain pins in there that might be useful to have something where I could test it with an oscilloscope or something like that. But I think I'm got it the way I wanted to. I might eventually put in sockets to some of the crystal oscillators and maybe some of the other components, but I think I've got it where I wanted to, so I'll probably throw down some paint on the board and do some finishing touches, and I think I've got it just about done. So anyways, if this interests you, like the video, comment, and I will keep you posted with the next changes I make to it.